Hello YouTube and welcome to Cooking with a Loser. This is going to be the first video in our series of cooking videos. And of course we had to start with the granddaddy of all and probably the healthiest thing that you can eat while intermittent fasting or on an LCHF diet, broth. So before we begin, I'm just going to flash the ingredients that we'll be using up on the screen, and you can feel free to pause and get it all ready to go, and it's not all that complicated. So the first thing we bought were about 3 to 4 pounds worth of bones. Now if you're a vegetarian, you can substitute an equal amount of vegetables. Just use hearty vegetables that you think will add the best flavor. You can experiment with that. As far as those of us who do eat meat, I'm using about 2 pounds of cow femur bone, and then in addition to that I've got about another 1 to 2 pounds of smoked pork riblets. Now normally I prefer smoked pork neck bones, but when I went to the grocery store they did not have that. I like to use the smoked bones with the meat on them because it adds a lot of flavor, and B, it adds in a lot of salt, which of course is the point of broth. We're wanting to get that salt into our diet. So in addition to that, I used about a ½ pound each of chopped onion and chopped celery, and then we're going to use 2 bay leaves and 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And then what I did was I put aluminum foil on a baking sheet, arrange the bones on that as you can see in the picture here, put the vegetables in between them, and then I roast that at 450 for about 25 minutes. Now that is an optional step, but what I find it does is it really unlocks a lot of the flavor, sort of pre-cooking the bones. It softens up the marrow in the cow femurs, and it's going to give your broth a much heartier flavor. So once we've done that, we've taken everything out of the oven. It should look about like this. Hopefully you can see that. It's got a nice smell to it. What we're going to do is we're just going to take our tongs. Be careful because this thing is freaky hot. I'm going to put the bones right into our crock pot. Now if you want to be able to actually remove the marrow from the bones, the cow bones, and use it later, be sure you lay them long ways so that about halfway through the cooking process you can remove them, get that marrow out of there, and eat it if you want to. It's very, very healthy, especially if you are buying, organic and grass-fed bone, cow bones. Okay, so I'm going to get the rest of the pork bones in there. And try to arrange it as well as you can, as flat as you can on the bottom. Smells like barbecue in here. Okay, and then, let's see, I'm just going to take this aluminum foil off of here and get the vegetables in there, just right on top. There we go. That is trash. I'm going to throw in my 2 bay leaves and my 2 tablespoons of vinegar, which that's going to help to break down all the nutrients that we're looking to extract from these bones. Again, that's optional. All the ingredients other than the bones in this video are actually optional. All that really matters is that you have bones, and then of course enough water to cover the bones, which I'm going to grab right now. Okay, so I've put just enough water in here to just cover the bones, and I'll show you a picture of that. This is what it should look like before you turn your crock pot on. Okay, so now we're going to take the top, put it on, kick our crock pot on low, and you should cook this depending on the bones. If you're using chicken bones, you want to go less time, 8 to 24 hours. If if you're using heartier bones like cow bones, you're probably going to want to go, I don't know, 16 to 48. So I'm going to cook these for at least a day, maybe 2, and I'll see you back after that. Okay, it's been 2 days. That was quick, yeah. And we're ready for the next step in our bone broth preparation. So here is what the broth looks like now. You can see that it's reduced down quite a bit. And over the course of the 2 days, I've maybe stirred this twice. You really want to try to keep that lid on there and let that liquid just reduce down and let those bones really release all of the amino acids and vitamins and minerals that they have. So next what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a bowl and a strainer, and I'm going to remove the pot from the cooker, and I'm going to strain it. So I'll be back after I finish that. Okay, so I've strained our broth, and here's what it looks like. And the fat is starting to collect on the top, which is perfect. Now, when you strain it, if you want to separate the meat out from the bones and save the meat and the marrow and all that to eat another time, that would be excellent. That's the time to do it, when you're straining it. Just separate that meat, make sure you get all the bones out. And of course, if you used bay leaves, get them out of there because you do not want to be eating them. An additional step that you can do to add a little bit more flavor is 15 minutes before you are going to strain it, add in some freshly chopped garlic. That actually is a really good flavor enhancer. I didn't do that this time, but if you like garlic, go ahead and add that in at that time. So what we're going to do now, we're going to take our broth, we're going to put it in the refrigerator and let it start to set for 2 or 3 hours, and then we'll be back to show you the final step. Alright, so we'll see you in just a sec. Okay, so it's been about 3 hours. We've chilled our broth and taken it out of the refrigerator. And I don't know if you can see that very well, but there's basically what it looks like. I'll go ahead and put a picture up too. So we have a nice fat cap on top. And that's what you want to see. You want your broth to look very much like gelatin. If it does not look like gelatin, then you have either added too much water or cooked it too short of a time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a nice spoon and a container here. We're going to get this fat cap off the top as best we can without losing much, and save this. Save this fat. It should stay in the refrigerator for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and you're going to want to use it when you cook. Cook everything in this. This is some of the best fat, purest fat that you can find, and based on what kind of bones and meat you've used, it's like the food of the gods. So that's pretty much it. After I get this fat off, what I like to do is put my broth into separate about 1 cup containers. If I'm going to eat it tomorrow, I'll put one in the refrigerator. Otherwise, I put them in the freezer, and they'll keep for several weeks that way. In the meantime, you want a nice healthy cup of broth. Just take it out of the freezer, pop it in your microwave, or drop it into a pot on the stove, and you got one of the best foods that you can eat, again, for LCHF or while fasting. So hopefully this has been an instructional video for you, and you'll get to making your own broth here real soon, and I guarantee you're going to enjoy it, and it's going to be excellent for you. So we'll be back soon with another cooking video in this series, and until then, keep being a loser.